Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever just opened their season in the wildest way possible, 104 points. A home crowd that was absolutely ready to explode. Aaliyah Boston battling inside. Kelsey Mitchell hitting huge shots. Caitlin Clark looking healthy, fast, and dangerous again. And somehow, it still was not enough, because the Dallas Wings walked into Indiana and beat the Fever 107-104. And the most shocking part was not just the final score, it was how calm Paige Bueckers looked while doing it.
We are not overreacting to the Indiana Fever losing this game. We are not. Under no circumstance are we overreacting to this. It's one of those things where the Indiana Fever played minutes. They played minutes of exceptional basketball and a lot of bad basketball.
This was supposed to be Indiana's statement night, the first game of the regular season. The building was buzzing. The WNBA's 30th season was tipping off, and Caitlin Clark was back in the spotlight after being limited last season. That was the setup. Caitlin Clark back. Indiana at home. Stephanie White leading a Fever team with real expectations, but Dallas had no interest in being part of someone else's celebration. From the opening minutes, you could feel it. The Wings were not scared of the crowd. They were not scared of the moment. And they were definitely not scared of Caitlin Clark. Right away, Dallas put Paige Bueckers into the action. Paige was matched up on Clark early, and that immediately gave the game a different feeling. This was not just Fever versus Wings. This felt like the beginning of a new rivalry. Clark on one side, Paige on the other, two of the biggest names in women's basketball, sharing the same floor on opening day. And Dallas punched first. Paige hit an early three after an offensive rebound. Odyssey Sims came out firing. Arike Ogunbowale started finding her rhythm. And Indiana was suddenly chasing the game instead of controlling it. That became the story of the entire night. Every time the Fever looked like they were about to take over, Dallas had another answer. And that is what made this game so dangerous for Indiana, because Caitlin Clark did not disappear. That is the scary part. Clark had moments where she looked exactly like the player Fever fans needed her to be. She attacked the rim, she hit from deep, she pushed the pace. She found Aaliyah Boston. There were stretches where the whole building started to feel it. Clark hit a right wing three, then she pulled up from deep again. Then she attacked the basket and finished through traffic. Later, she spun inside and laid it in, looking healthy on the finish. And when Clark started imploring the crowd, it felt like Indiana was about to flip the game completely. But here's the problem. Indiana gave up 107 points, and you cannot keep asking Caitlin Clark to win shootouts every night. That is where this loss becomes bigger than one game. The Fever scored 104 points at home and still lost. That tells you this was not just about offense. This was about stops. This was about rebounding. This was about late game control. And Dallas exposed that immediately. Stephanie White had already been pushing the Fever to be better on the glass and go after the basketball.
I don't know, but I don't want to deal with this the first game. I don't want to deal with them trying to lie. I don't want to deal with them trying to cover up. Like Caitlin Clark might not be dealing with an issue if she is. Another thing, Stephanie White need to be fired. I don't give a damn what they say. I don't care how they put it. Stephanie White is not the coach for Caitlin Clark. As soon as Caitlin Clark got to going, and she started having that third quarter explosion we all seen, Stephanie White immediately took her off the ball. Then she started realizing, damn, we're not scoring anymore. Let me put the ball back in Caitlin Clark's hand. All these different experiments, all these different things that she doing is not it, bro. I just got to be honest. It's just not it.
The broadcast noted that Indiana struggled with that in the preseason, and those same issues showed up again in the opener. Dallas kept getting extra chances. Dallas kept finding open players. Dallas kept attacking Indiana's defensive mistakes, and the Wings did it with balance. She shocked them because she looked poised. She looked comfortable. She looked like the moment was not too big. That is what stood out. She was navigating traps. She was making the right reads. She was using her size in the mid-range. She was getting to her spots. And late in the game, where Paige navigated the defense beautifully and delivered the ball to Odyssey Sims at the exact right time. Later, Paige used her size for a fadeaway, made a move while guarded by Clark, and then had a poised late possession with a fake, a take, and a make. That is why this performance matters. Paige did not look like someone trying to survive Caitlin Clark's spotlight. She looked like someone comfortable taking part of it. And that is a major message to the rest of the league. Because Dallas did not just win this game with talent, they won it with composure. Indiana kept fighting. Aaliyah Boston had strong moments inside. Her footwork looked sharp. She cleaned up misses. She made passes that opened the floor. And when the Fever started building momentum in the third quarter, Boston was right in the middle of it. Kelsey Mitchell was aggressive all night too. She attacked early. She finished tough layups. She hit a huge late three when Indiana desperately needed one, and for a while, it looked like the Fever were going to steal the game back. That is what made the ending hurt even more, because Indiana had chances. They had the crowd. But the Wings never did. Arik hit tough shots. Paige stayed steady. Odyssey Sims made one of the biggest buckets of the game when she attacked Clark and banked it in. And Dallas kept making Indiana defend every part of the floor. That is what good teams do. They do not just survive the run, they answer it. Late in the fourth, Dallas found just enough offense to keep the Fever at arm's length. Indiana had one final chance down three with 1.3 seconds left. Kelsey Mitchell got a clean look. The crowd held its breath, but the shot did not fall. And that was it. Dallas 107, Indiana 104. The Wings walked into Indiana and ruined the Fever opener, but the post-game comments made it even more interesting. Enrique said Dallas has a lot of pieces, and because of that, they do not always need to take the tough shot. They can kick it to the next player. She also admitted Dallas did not play great defense, but they dug in when it mattered. That is the part Fever fans should pay attention to. Dallas scored 107 points. They beat Indiana on the road. They had 3 players score 20 or more. Paige looked composed. Arik looked ready. Sims looked like a problem. And they still walked away saying they can be better. That is a warning. For Indiana, this is not panic time. It is game 1. Caitlin Clark looked dangerous. The question is simple. Was this just one bad defensive night for Indiana? If you're still watching, drop Wings warning in the comments.
Angel Reese, though. What I found most interesting about this list is where ESPN ranks their face of the league. Unfortunately for Angel Reese, the polish seems to be melting off the turd. ESPN has tried to convince us that Angel Reese is the face of the WNBA. Not only is the matriarch of Me-Bounds the face of the league, according to the media, Angel Reese is the most dominant basketball player in the world.
Angel Reese just got hit with the kind of ESPN reality check that fans do not forget. For months, she was pushed as one of the biggest faces of the WNBA. The personality, the headline, the star who was supposed to help carry the league into a new era. But now, ESPN has put out a ranking that makes that entire story look very different.
In case you're wondering, Angel Reese, still not good from the field. 3 for 7, 10 points. I mean, good God Almighty. Not good. By the way, Mystics defeated the Dream. Defeated the Dream. It was ugly. No doubt about it. Speaking of ugly, let's just address this. When does lame-ass Atlanta Dream fix the lighting and change the court color?
Because while Angel Reese is suddenly being questioned, Caitlin Clark is still the name pulling the attention, the ratings, the crowds, and the pressure. And that is where this gets uncomfortable. Because this is no longer just about whether Angel Reese is popular. She is popular. It is no longer just about whether she has fans. She does. The real question is much sharper than that. If Angel Reese is still supposed to be one of the top stars in the WNBA, why does it feel like ESPN is already turning the page? And why does that page keep landing on Caitlin Clark? That is the part nobody can ignore anymore.
Not rocket science to see that since her arrival and the rest of that 2024 class, the WNBA has skyrocketed.
Finally, we have a WNBA player willing to admit that Caitlin Clark is the reason for the elevation of pretend basketball into the mainstream. Finally, we have a WNBA player willing to admit Caitlin Clark is the reason that they are no longer making minimum wage.
Angel Reese entered the league with massive attention. She had the college rivalry. She had the personality. She had the social media following. She had the attitude that made people react, whether they loved her or hated her. And in today's sports world, that matters. Attention is currency. Drama sells. Personality creates clicks. But there is a dangerous line in sports, because being famous is not the same thing as being the best. And that is where the Angel Reese conversation has started to crack, because the media image was moving fast, maybe too fast. Reese was being talked about like a ready-made superstar, a league-changing figure, a player who could sit at the front of the WNBA's new era. But when the games actually started speaking, the story got a lot messier. The rebounding is real, the hustle is real, the effort is real. Nobody can take that away from her, but the offensive problems are also real. The missed layups, the rough finishes, the inefficient shooting nights.
Angel Reese preseason part 2. Let's get it! So many fans in the stands, it's all filled to the brim to see you me-bound! You can really tell she's been in the lab all off season working on that explosiveness. Look right here, she gets almost 2 inches off the ground. Me-bound! Burn! She's got this nasty trick shot where she hip-fires layups from 2 feet away, like that. Burn! That shot is her bread and butter. Butter, my God! Burn! Her form is cooked. That ball is so far away, it's in another solar system. Maybe she makes it. Nope. Burn! No. Someone tell her there's not an incentive in your contract that pays you more money for missing layups. That's a prey-up. Burn! I wanted to see a baby giraffe try to play Twister. I go to the circus. What is that? Burn!
The moments where she looks powerful on the glass, but uncomfortable when she has to score cleanly through defenders. That is not hate. That is basketball. And that is why this ESPN ranking hit so hard, because for a long time, fans were told one version of the story. Angel Reese was not just a good player, she was a face. She was a star. She was a major part of the WNBA's rise. But when ESPN had to actually rank the players, suddenly the hype did not feel as loud. Suddenly the conversation changed.
The Atlanta Dream ended up besting the Chicago Sky. And I want to talk about Angel Reese's performance. Overall, in the box score, it looks like she did pretty good. 8.7 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals. But she went 2 for 7 field goal percentage, shooting 28% from the field and 4 of 8 from the free throw, 50% on free throws. All right. Angel Reese is still doing Angel Reese things as she missed wide open shots, things that she should have made, she didn't make.
And that is humiliating, not because Angel Reese has no value, she clearly does, but because the gap between the media push and the basketball reality became impossible to hide. If someone is truly the face of the league, you do not need to keep reminding everyone every 5 minutes. The audience feels it, the arena feels it, the ratings feel it, the league feels it. And that is exactly why Caitlin Clark makes this entire thing so uncomfortable. Because Caitlin Clark does not need the same level of explanation. Her impact announces itself. When she plays, people watch. When she struggles, people debate it. When she gets fouled, the internet explodes. When she hits a deep 3, it becomes a moment. When she walks into an arena, the energy changes. That is not normal attention. That is gravity. And that is the difference. Angel Reese has fame. Caitlin Clark has gravity. Fame gets people talking for a moment. Gravity pulls the whole league into the conversation. And right now, Caitlin Clark is the player doing that. That does not mean every other player is irrelevant. That does not mean the WNBA should only promote one person. That does not mean Angel Reese cannot grow into a stronger player. But it does mean the league hierarchy is not as complicated as some people want it to be. Caitlin Clark is the one moving the needle. She is the one turning ordinary games into national conversations. She is the one making casual fans care about matchups they never would have watched before. And that is why ESPN's shift feels bigger than just a ranking. It feels like a correction, a quiet admission that the original narrative may have gone too far. Because there is a difference between wanting Angel Reese to be a top star and actually proving that she is one right now. That is the uncomfortable part. Reese can rebound, she can bring energy, she can talk, she can create emotion. But when fans are watching the games, they are also seeing the flaws. They are seeing the offensive limitations. They are seeing the difference between a high-profile player and a player who bends the entire league around her presence. And once fans see that difference, it becomes very hard to sell them a different version of reality. That is why this moment matters. It is not just Angel Reese being criticized. It is Angel Reese being redefined. And sometimes that is even more painful, because when a player is attacked, fans can rally around them. But when a player is redefined, the whole conversation changes. Suddenly, Reese is not being judged as the face of the league. She is being judged as a player who still has major things to prove. That is a very different spotlight. And honestly, it might be exactly what she needs. Because the worst thing that can happen to a young player is being crowned too early. When the praise comes before the complete game, every mistake becomes louder. Every bad shooting night becomes evidence. Every ranking becomes a referendum. Every Caitlin Clark comparison becomes impossible to escape. And that is where Reese is now. She is not just battling opponents. She is battling the expectations that were built around her. But here is the fair part. Angel Reese is not finished, not even close. She can still improve. She can still become a better scorer. She can still sharpen her finishing. She can still turn the criticism into fuel. And if she does that, this ESPN moment might one day look like the turning point that forced her to level up. But right now, the reality is clear. The WNBA is moving into a new era, and Caitlin Clark is the center of that storm. Not because people were told to care, because they actually care. That is the difference. The attention around Clark feels organic. It feels loud because the audience made it loud. It feels unavoidable because every game gives people something to argue about. And when one player creates that much energy, the league has to adjust. ESPN has to adjust. The media has to adjust. Even the fans who do not like it have to adjust. That is what this ranking exposed. It exposed the gap between hype and gravity. Angel Reese still has a place in the WNBA story, but Caitlin Clark is the player pulling the league forward right now. And the longer people pretend that is still up for debate, the more obvious the truth becomes. Because ESPN did not just rank players, they revealed where the conversation is heading. And right now, that conversation is moving away from forced narratives and toward what fans can see with their own eyes. Angel Reese is still famous. She is still marketable. She is still a name people react to. But Caitlin Clark is different. She is the draw. She is the pressure point. She is the player everyone keeps circling back to. And that is why this moment feels so brutal for Angel Reese. Because ESPN did not have to say she was no longer a top WNBA star. The ranking said enough. The reaction said enough. And the Caitlin Clark comparison made the rest impossible to ignore. If you're still watching, drop Clark Effect in the comments.